There are over 50 car brands in South Africa, and who knows how many more specs, trims, and models there are. However, I know JAECOO has a winner with this, especially in the luxury compact SUV range. Welcome to the JAECOO J7. It might look like a Range Rover that didn't quite hit its growth spurt, but looks just as good as one. JAECOO did not waste any of the budget on the design, blending comfort, sport, and luxury. And I'm glad to say, it's just the same on the inside. But before we get into that, let's talk about specs. So underneath the bonnet, you've got a 1.6 litre turbo petrol engine pushing 145 kilowatts of power with 290 newton meters of torque, paired up with a 7-speed DCT gearbox. And now, depending on your trim level, either comes with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Right, I should mention the gearbox and the engine are shared amongst the trim levels, except for the super hybrid model, which has a 1.5 litre engine, but that's for another review. Look, the engine seems to be competitive in terms of peak power and holds its own in the segment by either being more power or less costly overall. So the J7 comes in 3 flavors: Vortex, Glacier, and Inferno. And this happens to be the Glacier, the middle, but it's certainly got a lot in it. But let's start off with defining the base model, the Vortex. 18-inch wheels, 360 cam, as well as a 13-inch touch infotainment display. But now, if you go for the Glacier, you're taking a step up in luxury and a lot of additional systems, such as an upgraded 14-inch touch infotainment system, 19-inch wheels, heated and ventilated seats, as well as a bunch of driver assists. But now, if you want the full package, you have to go for the Inferno, which comes with a few additional safety measures, such as a driver monitoring system that keeps the camera focused on you to make sure you're not fatigued and you're focused on the road. That's a whole bunch of features, but the most amazing part is the pricing, but we'll define all of that in a bit. I believe the J7, specifically the Inferno and Glacier, were built to take on European giants. And I reckon with the array of features that come across them, it really might be a very, very scary threat to them. However, let's check out the rest of the Glacier. All right, before we talk about styling, I just have to say this is one beautiful car. And yeah, like I said, it might resemble a Range Rover, but it's very unique on its own, especially thanks to the grille, which is probably the biggest contributor to its character. I mean, just look at this. It looks so sporty, aggressive, and elegant at the same time. The grille is only complemented by the beautiful JAECOO badging, but what also makes the front really impressive is the LED DRLs and headlamps. Absolutely love the front of this, such an urban luxury appeal to it. The side profile gives you a lot, but let's start with the wheels. 19-inch alloys with silver and black two-tone design, but the mirrors are probably the biggest feature. They're quite chunky because they house the 360 cam, plus they have these huge indicators. But if I go over the side profile, just one, these features, flush door handles are just the coolest thing ever. They just make it look like a premium luxury SUV. I also just look at the two-tone. This happens to be my favorite color. You get 5 colors in total with 8 different kind of options. When I mean 8 different options, I mean you can get a fully blacked out roof matching with the pillars, so it makes it like a proper two-tone design. But just look at the side profile. It's really, really freaking amazing. All right, the back is kept classy, especially with the clean sort of aesthetic that it's going for. I like that the wiper is hidden behind the spoiler here and that this light bar is actually functional. The red really makes it pop. JAECOO behind the clear glass also gives it the impression that it's a very, very luxury vehicle, as well as the badging with the hint of red. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this back is not my favorite for one reason. Fake exhausts. Why, guys? 2025, do we need fake exhausts? But other than that, this back is really great. Okay, so the exterior styling is aesthetic and harmonious, and like I've been saying, freaking good looking. I would give this design a 9 out of 10. But enough talking, let's hit the road. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit I was definitely wrong about this. I had a little bit of a notion going into the review, especially with regards to the handling and the driving section. But I'm glad to say I was proven wrong. This handles pretty well for a, Chinese luxury SUV. You've got three drive modes: Eco, Sport, and Normal. I've been primarily testing Eco and Sport for obvious reasons. I wanted to see if I can get to that 7 liter per 100 kilometer consumption, and to kind of test out and feel what that 145 kilowatts of power feels like. So I am glad to say one thing, that you can feel that power. It's quite nice. It's quite, it's a very linear sort of power. It's not like a huge spike, which is not bad, especially for, what this car and who the market is for. Yeah, man, I actually like how this car handles and feels. The biggest letdown, though, is the throttle. It's not calibrated correctly. It's just terrible. And this is a thing on Chinese cars where the throttle calibration has always been off. For instance, I'll give you a slight example. If I need the power for like a slow acceleration or something, it does it pretty well. But if I need to summon a bit more acceleration, it's very delayed. Like, my foot's flat and only now does it kick in. Yeah, throttle calibration on these cars is not great at all. Actually, there is one other thing. The steering feels very disconnected. It handles terrible. It feels like it's always understeering, and yeah, it just feels very disconnected. I tried playing around with the settings. No, it's not really going to make much of a difference. But on the positive note, this car is really, really good. I honestly feel like if you were using this on the city roads or highway, driving, it is a really, really good car. I wish to feel the all-wheel drive system from the Inferno, but maybe in the future. I want to touch on consumption. So JAECOO has marketed 7.0 liters per 100 kilometers, and every car manufacturer, Chinese, European, whatever, they always fluff up the consumption, the minimum or the maximum or the minimum consumption. And yeah, this is, well, in my testing, I've gotten nowhere close to that 7 liters per 100 kilometers, but I have gotten mid-8s and as high as low 10s, which is still pretty efficient, especially for a mid-size SUV. I'm not gonna lie, the consumption isn't what it was marketed, but it's not bad as well, making the J7 an economical car, especially the Glacier model, which is your middle tier, nicely priced, and it's economical. So glad about that. So you can't mention driving without talking about driver assistance systems, and I'm glad to say on the J7 there are plenty. So these few are actually standard across the range. You've got 360 cam, you've got front and rear parking sensors, you've got hill start, you've got hill descent assist, as well as a tire pressure monitoring system. Now, when you go to the Glacier, it steps it up a bit with adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, lane departure, lane keep assist, intelligent high beam control, and blind spot detection. But now if you want the full package, the Inferno is your pick. So what do I mean by the full package? It comes with a driver monitoring system that basically has a camera on you, watching you for fatigue and to make sure you're concentrating on the road. Look, the main driver aid that I usually like to test out is the adaptive cruise control, because I foresee myself using that more often than the others. And I hate to say this is a bit of a 50-50 for me. It's good, but it's really, really bad at times. So it's good that it really keeps, the distance and the control and the speed and acceleration going pretty well. However, it really, really sucks when it comes to the steering. I actually felt myself fighting the steering for control. And that's not something you want in a driver assistance. It's supposed to still keep you as the main source of control, but it shouldn't be that violent when, making decisions for itself. Look, if you're still on the fence about the J7, and regardless of what I've just said, the J7 comes with a suite of safety features that are standard and really make that price point a little bit sweeter to accept. Alright, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. let's go check out the interior. So the interior is super sophisticated with its uses of soft touch materials, metals and hard plastics. It really is all held together with the ambient lighting, which just adds a lot more theater to the actual space. It's just honestly very, very comfortable. I really like it. You know what's also a little bit fantastic that I should mention is the actual use of the real estate for the screens, for the steering. It's all just well put together. Nothing's really feeling out of place. So the biggest standout feature for me, and probably anyone who sits in the cabin, is obviously the screen being in portrait, which is actually sort of a signal of luxury in a lot of modern cars. You'll see them with more portrait screens than actual landscape screens. I don't think I can be biased with this cabin. It really blends luxury, comfort and affordability. That's exactly what the J7 is going for, and I'm glad the interior portrays that. In the front row, you're given amazing, comfortable leather seats with 6-way adjustment, lumbar support for the driver, as well as a 4-way adjustment for the passenger. And check this out, secondary controls for easy adjustment for the driver or rear passengers on the passenger side seat. On the Glacier, there are heated and ventilated seats, and they come handy after a really hard gym session with some late night drives or just trying to manage the Cape Town weather, which is very tricky. As you can see, it's quite windy today. You get dual auto zone climate control, another feature that should be standard on modern cars, as well as an N55 air filter that cleans the air around you. I would reckon this would be great in Johannesburg, where they burn grass daily, or if your partner just has really bad farts. I'm not saying that's me, but yeah, that's a bit TMI for you, sorry about that. And if the AC isn't cutting it, just use the good old-fashioned panoramic sunroof with the shade and crack that window open. Now get this, an 8-speaker Sony sound system. There's some alliteration for you. But yeah, it sounds freaking fantastic with punchy bass and clear vocals. Speaking of tech, again, 10-inch digital cluster, 14.8-inch touchscreen with wireless Android and CarPlay that actually connects well. Trust me, there are cars out there that have terrible connections. Anyway, moving on, you also have a voice assistant, not something I would use often, but I suppose it's a nice to have. You also get a wireless charger. It's a slow one though, but no problem. You've got 2 USB ports in the front and 2 in the back. The screen is portrait orientated, which I actually prefer, especially while using maps. And the real estate of the screen is used very nicely. However, it does pick up fingerprints, but thankfully there's a cleaning setting. All in all, the screen is crisp, clear and very functional. So the cabin with all of its tech and finishes is remarkable. The only concern, or I suppose drawback, is actually from someone else. And he had to say that he kind of felt it a little bit too generic. So I think it's safe to say he and I agree to disagree, because I absolutely love this cabin. It's really nice. Also, I should mention you have a very nice push to start button integrated into the dash. Now the back seats are also covered in soft and plush leather with pull-out armrest, aircon vents and USB-C ports. So in the back seats, same leather, same plush feel as the front seats, so happy about that. Nice little incline on it. I do feel a little bit cramped here and I was quite uncomfortable on long distances. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But I was quite distracted by the panoramic sunroof, which just takes all of your worries away, especially when it's open. It just gives you a greater sense of the atmosphere and the actual car when it's open. All in all, I can't really complain much about the back other than the space. Headroom is perfectly fine, it's just my legs are suffering. Now the boot. Firstly, electric boot lid with adjustable height and a number of ways to open it. For instance, there's a hands-free opening feature where you just stand behind the car for 3 seconds and the boot will open. There's a decent amount of space here with a capacity of 412 liters, ample enough for your whole family needs, although height-wise might be a little tricky for extra large items. So for the Vortex trim, for 549,000, you get leather seats and most of the safety features mentioned above. However, for an additional 50,000 Rand, you can get the Glacier with its sunroof, bigger screen, bigger wheels, heated and ventilated seats, as well as upgraded ADAS systems, all for that sweet, sweet price. Now, if you want the full package, you need to go to 679,900. That additional 80k gets you a better drive system as well as an upgraded suspension for off-roading. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is some very good pricing for a luxury SUV. Look, the J7 is a lot of things, tech-savvy, sophisticated, quite nicely styled and comfortable. It's actually a car that Cami actually likes. So yeah, maybe your partner will like it too. I would take the Glacier over the Inferno actually, because firstly, it's cheaper, it has everything I need. I'm not much of an outdoors guy. I like to explore the city and open highways. Yeah, I mean, I would like to get the Inferno just to test out that all-wheel drive system, but if I had to pick one, it would be the Glacier. Honestly, very, very nice car, very, very nicely priced. Yeah, I can't really say much other than that. I think it might be a contender for SUV of the year. I mean, that's me just saying it'll probably be a winner, but maybe you disagree. If you do, or if you do agree, leave a comment in the comment section below. And remember, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.